Michelangelo, Martin Luther King, Mahatma Gandhi, Novak Djokovic, Virat Kohli, that we have to recognize that animals have a right.
I mean, I've always said animals are a commitment for 10 to 15 years of your emotions, your finances.
We domesticated the wolf to the dog to protect us.
Just to be with that mentally and emotionally, like you're working your emotional strength muscles.
I think there's a lot of animal-loving people that are in the wrong job.
One key person in this system that goes between the NGO and the panchayat and the government.
We do have this ahimsa in us.
Yeah, 100%.
Sir, batak kha liya hamara chappal. I have to buy them shoes.
Watson used to be the same.
Strange that they're called schemes, but I call them grants.
For each welfare to kind of work in tandem with each other to tackle your animal population in your city.
All NGOs could be helped is to have a counseling therapist for all the staff. A lot of time people say to me, I don't really like animals.
If you don't like dogs, please help them because then you'll have lesser on the street.
Yeah, exactly. We can send rockets to Mars.
Yeah.
They miss sometimes.
My name is Shivani Mathur. I run an individual initiative called Give Goa Dogs to help out our community dogs and animal welfares of India. I'm doing this podcast, 4 legs and 2 mics, to just raise awareness so we can find a way to help our community animals better together. So before we get into this podcast, I would request you to like, subscribe and share it with people you feel it would be beneficial for.
My name is Atul Sareen. I'm the founder of Welfare for Animals in Goa, which set up officially about 12 years ago. It was a pleasure to meet Shivani. It's amazing how just one individual you have, it just shows if you put your mind to it, you can achieve so much as you've done with Give Goa Dogs.
Yeah, but it was also talking to you, Atul, you know, I mean, you kind of set me on this journey. Like I remember I'd ask you so many questions all the time. And what I loved about Atul was that he's accessible. Being a founder of a shelter, a sanctuary, there's so much going on all the time. But I'd call up Atul, how can I help? What can I do? And I actually did my first sterilization drive with WAG. I remember I went in saying I want to help the street animals. And Atul was like, but Shivani, we need to help the home animals as well. There are low income homes who will not pay for sterilizations. So we should make it free for everyone.
Well, I learned from you as well because you then went on in the Margao area to do more than 2,000, I think.
2,600 dogs in 8 weeks.
And I must admit, like when I first met you, I was a bit skeptical because I meet people all the time who say, I want to do this, I want to do that. And you actually went ahead and did it, which was amazing.
Who was the first animal you rescued?
It was a dog called Marvin, which was actually short for Starving Marvin.
Oh, poor thing.
Somebody told me there's this dog in Morjim Tide in somebody's backyard. Could you rescue it? So very bravely, I just went into their backyard and I was shocked. It was horrible. This dog.
It was an own dog.
Own dog, tied up, full of, you could see all his bones, fleas, sticks. Sometimes the best is to use the civil approach, because what you want to do at the end of the day is to get the dog. So I said to the people, oh, you know, what a lovely dog, and is this yours? And they said, yeah, we feed him once a week when we feel like it. So, but he's ours, you know. So
Was he an Indie?
An Indie, yeah. So I said, thing is, I think he's got rabies, and you would quickly, you could, you know, get it. It's very contagious. So they're like, no, take, don't bring back.
Oh, wow.
So we jumped him into the car, and he actually lived till 14. He was called Starvin Marvin, and he was a celebrity. So
my first animal that I rescued, which wasn't a dog or a cat, was actually a vulture.
Oh.
I was probably 6 or 7 years old in the lawn in front of my home in Delhi. There was this vulture that had fallen from the trees and kids were throwing stones at it. So I went with my bed sheet, picked up the vulture, brought it home, tucked it into my bed. My mother walked into my room, freaked out. And then she said there was a bird hospital in Delhi called the Sanjay Gandhi Animal Hospital. And I was sent there to give the bird, you know, because she said, you don't know how to take care of it. I think that was my first rescue, you know, I mean, was a vulture.
Amazing.
So how long have you been doing this?
12 years ago we set up WAG, but for the 6 years before that,
Yeah.
I was doing a lot of rescuing. So I started a beach feeding program. I was a
Yeah.
lot younger then, so I had more energy. I used to go by myself,
Yeah.
with a pot of food.
And this is before you became a welfare.
Yes, before.
And what made you decide to open a registered NGO?
I think very soon I realized that to have any impact, or to, especially with sterilizations,
Yeah.
that was the only way ahead.
Yeah.
And obviously, for donation purposes, it's much better officially if
Yeah,
you
because
have.
then you get that ATG receipt
Yes,
and all
yes.
of
And a lot of companies want to give
CSR.
CSR, ATG, but they need that paperwork.
Yes. What is the day-to-day running of your shelter like? Like you wake up in the morning, what's going on? How does everything run?
We do rescuing, so no day is the same. That's the thing. But I have my half an hour in the morning where I have my coffee with my own dogs.
Yeah.
So that's very important.
How many do you have that are your own dogs?
My own dogs, I have 8.
8.
But altogether at WAG, we have about 60.
60?
60, yeah.
Okay, wow.
There's 12 that we look after on a farm as well. So at 9 o'clock, so 8:30 we start all the cleaning. At 9 we have the staff meeting,
Yeah.
which is also a lot going on every day.
Every day you have your staff meeting.
Every morning at 9.
Fabulous.
Yeah. Must have it.
Yeah,
because
fabulous.
without that,
How do you get your day going?
Yeah, communications. And I would urge anybody running an NGO, as I said before, that if one person can't do it, 3 of you get together
And do
run.
it. How many different species of animals has WAG helped over the years?
More than 20, I would say.
Oh, wow.
Which is a lot. From mongooses to peacocks, donkeys. What happened is we also found wildlife ideally has to be rescued by the forestry department.
Yes.
But sometimes, they're busy, so they take time in coming to collect.
you
So
take
we
them.
are like a halfway house. What's nice about all these different species, especially now that you have Google and AI and all that, you learn a lot about what they eat.
Yeah.
And so on. Day before yesterday, a little owl somebody
Oh.
brought in. It had fallen off the nest. With the Google Lens and all that, we identified it, what the diet is. A few minutes later, it was happily eating Whiskas, cat adult jelly.
Really? A owl?
Yeah, because all these different species, you learn a lot. And we have resident farm animals as well, goats, ducks, guinea fowl that have all been rescued.
When you start off an NGO, you must have your own
You
vet.
must have a vet, because I say it's like having a restaurant without a cook.
Ah.
You can't say today I have a big party, so let me go to the next restaurant and order the food. It doesn't make any sense.
Who's your most memorable animal that you rescued?
Oh God, so many,
Yeah.
so many.
Who's the first one that comes up in your head?
First one was actually Sweetie the monkey. We'd been informed of this monkey for many years. She was a macaque, bonnet macaque, in Seolim, in a small cage with an amputated arm.
In somebody's house?
In somebody's house. So eventually we persuaded the owner to give her up and brought her to WAG. And we found out that she was actually, when she was a baby, her mother had been shot in the trees in the jungle, and she'd fallen down, and Sweetie, as the owners had called her, had been kidnapped and then used for the dancing monkey trade.
Oh, God.
So she'd obviously been beaten every day. And on bringing her in, I was just amazed at all her different expressions, especially anger. She would, if you give her something nice, she never had anything nice, so she was confused. So she would take it from my hand and then she would pinch my finger to hurt me, and then almost laugh, Finally, the Primate Trust had a cage free.
And then
So she went there, and for the first time, she met all the other monkeys, and it was a beautiful ending.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who are the current species you have under your care right now?
Current, we have duck, quail at the moment that was
Oh.
injured.
Oh.
Yeah, so guinea fowl. We have an injured squirrel as well.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the palm squirrels, as developments happening, a lot of them are falling off their nests, or cats get them or something like that. And of course, cows. And recently we have now our 4th goat.
Yeah.
So goats are very, very special. You just see how intelligent they are and how different they are to the
Goldie's
cows.
friends.
Goldie's now got a boyfriend, Raja.
Any funny quirks about your animals at the sanctuary?
We had a rescued mongoose for a little while, and he was hand fed, so he couldn't be released. So it was very cute. We had made a big cage for him,
Yeah.
and then of course we have Daffy the duck.
Yes.
He's a character. At the Wag Sanctuary, he's known as the Chappal Chor.
Chappal chor.
Yeah, because you have your shoes there. He very quietly he'll take your shoe.
And
I
what?
don't know what he does
What
with
does he
it.
do with
He
it?
pecks at it, and then he hides it.
So
So
cute.
it's really
Also, you're going on a
cute.
treasure hunt to look for your shoes.
Yeah, we have to look. Yeah.
Oh, how
So
cute.
many a time we employ laborers on a casual basis to
Yeah.
keep the place clean.
Yeah.
So I'm forever forking out 200 rupees for their chappals. And saying, "Sir, batak kha liya hamara chappals." I have to buy
Very-
them shoes.
Yeah, Watson used to be the same, my English bulldog.
Yeah.
Whenever I take him to the vet, they'd be like, "Oh, Watson's come, move your chappals." In the buildings I used to live in Bombay, the guards would be like, "Arey, chappal dal do, Watson aa raha hai, madam naya kharidega." You know, so I was constantly buying new chappal. So Watson and Daffy are probably
Yes.
sold to in somewhere.
And they know that it's something naughty. you know.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
really cute.
You have rabbits and stuff also at the
Yes, yes,
sanctuary.
yes. We started Goa's first rabbit sanctuary. Rabbits are amongst the most abused animals in the world. People buy them for the cute factor, then very slowly get fed up with them.
But you have Whitey and Pirate and all also.
Yes, yes, yes. So,
You have a lot of species
lot
there.
of species. This Whitey was the cockatoo. He's just an amazing animal, and the amount of joy he gives to people. So sometimes I hear these outbursts of laughter, children, shrieking with delight, and adults as well. And I think just one single animal, how
Yeah.
he can make people so happy.
And
So he
happy.
comes out on the shoulder, and he loves Bhangra.
Yeah.
So it's nice, but on a serious note, we also use him for education purposes
Yeah.
and telling the people the difference. So he is, for example, a native of Australia, so he's like an exotic species.
Yeah.
Then we also have a rose-ring parakeet, so
Okay.
that would be an indigenous wildlife.
And Pirate is a what?
Pirate is an African grey,
He's an
so
African.
he also comes.
Under exotic.
Yes, so most of these animals being sold, the breeders don't have the licenses.
These pet shops don't have the license.
No, and individual breeders who also probably don't have the licenses. So that's one way of stopping this trade. And unfortunately, it is a very, very depressing. Every one healthy parrot you see, so many have died from abuse.
So, Atul, as a citizen, if someone saw an injured animal, what are they supposed to do?
I mean, abuse cases are different, but
Yeah.
if you see an injured animal on the street, ideally you have to ring your nearest NGO,
Yeah.
welfare. Very often, as in all over India, the NGOs are under-resourced.
Yeah.
So it's good if you can actually help with the rescue.
Okay.
A lot of the time we ask people, "Look, can you stay with
With
the
the-
animal till we get there?" And people are quite nice. Some people say, "Look, I'm on my way to work. I just
Yeah.
saw it." But other people will actually wait by the
In
animal.
Goa, they wait.
Some do, yeah, which is very nice. And a lot even when you reach there, they give you a donation,
Oh, how
for the
lovely.
petrol. Not many, but it does happen.
But that's a nice thing to do.
Yeah, we encourage reporters to actually get involved with the rescue.
But a lot of time, Atul, a lot of people reach out and no help comes. What are they supposed to do?
I don't know what to say. It's just very difficult. We need,
More.
again, we come back to the NGO point. We need more NGOs.
Yeah.
We need more facilities. And of course, what we haven't mentioned so far is the government help.
Yes.
That could also be increased. A lot more enthusiasm could come.
So if the citizens get involved, you feel the government would start activating stuff?
In a way that the citizens can then go to the government offices and
Yes,
say,
that's what
hey,
I'm- We need to do this.
there's this money for the ambulance. Why hasn't it been used? Why is the government veterinary center could do a little bit more?
Yeah.
So that's the way they could help. But from the government at ground level, certainly panchayats
Yeah.
and so should be a bit more enthusiastic about their role.
Yeah.
And not just leave it to the NGOs. Because
NGOs.
at the end of the day, it is actually their duty.
Now, what happens if we see puppies and kittens on the street? What are we supposed to do?
If there is a mother there, we ask the people to leave
Them.
them with the mom. And then when they get a bit bigger, we'll try and
Sterilized.
sterilize the mum and then rehome the puppies.
Yeah.
But the problem often lies when there is no mother.
Yes.
And again, we come down to lack of resources, lack of enough NGOs, because ideally, even the mum and the pups should be lifted. If they're on a garbage dump,
Yeah.
they should be lifted and taken to an NGO or a
Yeah.
fostering halfway house.
There are no fostering halfway houses
No. There's a few individuals doing
who
a
do
few.
it, but it's not like a proper facility.
No.
Do you feel it is something that is needed?
Yes, definitely. And at WAG, we are looking to buy a property adjacent to us
To be able to do this foster.
to be able to do, even if we can foster 20 puppies,
Yeah.
and have 3 separate areas.
Yeah.
So the first would be for the pre-vaccinated.
Yeah.
And once you give them vaccination, then
They can go.
in the middle, where then they're waiting for the booster,
Yeah.
21 days, then they would move to the final area where hopefully they can be rehomed and adopted out. Yes. And people who say, that it's Mother Nature, leave them on the street,
No.
especially if they don't have the mother. It's not Mother Nature that, most of them will die terrible and slow death, because you can take it back centuries and centuries. We domesticated the wolf to the dog
Yeah.
to protect us, to
Yes.
give us company. So we owe them that.
Something.
So it's not Mother Nature to let 6 puppies just die on a pile of rubbish.
Exactly. So that's what. So you do feel there's a foster care system that needs to be put in place for
Very much.
these young animals,
Yes.
that other welfares need to start considering
Yes,
this
yes.
as a part of their plan.
Yes, for
Yeah.
sure.
How can we, the citizens, help you set this up
You can start by volunteering at your local NGO.
so they have more manpower to take care of
Yes, and
pups?
see what their needs are. So, I have a lot of citizens that say, "Oh, I can't help with the maggoty dog because
Yeah.
I feel, very sad, or I feel like fainting." So I say, look, now with the social media,
Yeah.
if you're good at fundraising, you don't need to come to a center. You set up a post
Yeah.
and start raising funds. We have a goal. So there's a lot of ways the citizens can help. But again, for immediate help, if even, there's a batch of 6 puppies, if somebody can even take 2. I
Take the
say
weight off the shelters.
Yes, take the weight of the shelters. And I sort of call it the holiday period. So the fosterer can keep them for 2-3 weeks.
But do the shelters help out? What if they don't find parents for them?
But usually with
They do get
adoption
adopted.
camps, yeah. And with the fosterer looking after them for 2-3
The
weeks.
chances of them getting adopted
Yes,
are
because
higher.
they look much healthier and they've had that one-on-one.
Yeah.
Actually, we rely on sneakily. What happens is the fosterer does fall in love with the dog,
So
and
you
then
hope.
they adopt it, or their relatives adopt it. But ones that come back, certainly they look much better because they've had the
Yeah.
one-on-one care. So fostering is actually one of the most difficult tasks in animal welfare because you have to handle the animal back.
Yeah.
But then you have
Emotionally,
to
you're
think,
saying.
yeah. But then you have to think about the next one is ready for you.
So how does the animal welfare ecosystem work?
Be aware of the commitment, but also be aware of the benefits of helping the animals. So anybody wanting to start, you do need a little bit of money.
Yeah.
I would say at least 10 lakhs.
Start off,
have a
yeah.
premises, some cages. You must have a vet.
Yeah.
And
Lucy.
you have to be registered for up to 3 years before you can apply
For
any schemes, any grants,
Okay.
ATG, CSR.
no, because I know the other NGOs bring their dogs to you for sterilization,
yes,
right? The
yes.
ones that weren't doing it on their own or didn't
Yes.
have a facility.
Yes.
So they can do that as well.
Oh, definitely. But
Yeah,
so
100%.
I say to anybody, starting it, register as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Even if you have 2 cages,
Yeah.
just start the ball rolling. But just the fact that, even
Train teams.
and to have the vehicles, because I get calls every day that
Nobody's coming to
NGOs,
help.
nobody's coming. Some are saying, they have to be vaccinated before. So this is the huge problem, I think, is the catching
Yes.
and also the aftercare.
Yeah.
Like you did, with the All Dogs Matter camp, you provided the aftercare for 3-4 days,
Yes.
which is so important because if you release them too soon, it's
No, I mean, if you release them,
50%.
then how are you monitoring them,
Yes.
right? It's like you having a surgery and being told to be on your own a day later,
Exactly,
right?
yes. So then that's also a huge problem, is that's missing the aftercare facility,
So
because
shouldn't a welfare have an aftercare facility for their
absolutely
animals?
100%.
Isn't that a part of being a welfare?
It's a total necessity. Even it's not the solution, but what could help a little bit is if all the government dispensaries, the
Yes.
veterinary offices, even had 2 cages.
Yeah,
Slowly,
in each facility.
yeah, they get so many people requesting them.
I mean, I had 60 cages, which I've distributed across Goa.
Yes, yes. I think I still have 10.
Yeah.
It's not the cage, but it's the work that involves that they shy away from. That's very sad, because imagine if all of the veterinary offices all over India did even 2 a day, what a difference it would make.
What should all NGOs have in place to work most effectively?
I think obviously you must have a lot of love for the animals, passion, compassion. Equally important is the fundraising.
Yes.
Because without
To
funds,
sustain it.
nothing happens. Yeah. So I would even, for example, at WAG, we have a full-time accountant
Yes.
just doing the paperwork. And if you can try and get FCRA,
which is the international funding.
international, yeah. So, but that's a lot of paperwork. Help from the government is important. The veterinary VOs, veterinary officers, so each large area has a dispensary. Liaising with the NGOs can be very important, or with the local
Yeah.
people who are interested to help. All over India, there's a very old-fashioned animosity between NGOs and the government departments, and I think we have to rise above that,
To
because
help animals.
yes, because we're all wanting to do the same thing. And panchayats, municipalities have access to huge pieces of land.
So what I've also realized observing Goa and working here, right, is that the panchayats do have this power, but they just don't know how to go about their paperwork.
Yes.
Right? 90% of the time they don't know what to do. So we're kind of missing that one key person in this system that goes between the NGO and the panchayat and the government, getting everybody's paperwork in place. Do you think if these people came into place, things might happen faster?
Yes.
And that is something citizens could sponsor? Or
Yes,
it needs
yes.
to be a government thing? Or
I think the government have resources. I mean, that's a very good point. So even if once a year, all the secretaries of the panchayat, only once a year, we had a meeting
with animal welfares?
with animal welfares on the training, how the schemes work.
Yes.
Because the schemes are very important,
Yeah.
for finances.
What are your welfare protocols? So, like training, treatment, your day-to-day running.
Yeah, we have if we have a new staff or a new volunteer, we have a 2-3 day training program.
Yeah.
Very important is for people or staff to see that what our goal is,
Which is
to sterilize as many animals as possible, but also to build an education system where you realize they're sentient beings.
this is for the internal teams.
Yes,
What I like about WAG is that you name all your animals.
yes.
You're the only welfare I've seen that names all its passing clients as well, that are
Yeah.
not stationed in-house animals.
Yes, and
Which
what's sometimes getting older, I forget some of the names, but it's very sweet. My staff, who, even for them to learn that, okay, this is going to help the animal, and to accept it, and they actually, even they know the names more than I do,
Yeah.
which is really sweet.
It's
So
amazing.
we have a couple of boys, they know when this one was born and that one was born,
wow.
and whose baby is that, or whose sister is that. So
So
that's
the
really,
compassion amongst the team is so
Yes.
crucial for the
yes.
welfare.
And then you get, obviously, if you name an animal, it becomes, you can relate to it more. Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's quite sweet, because some of the the English names, for example,
Yeah.
Daffy will become Duffy.
What are the questions you ask a new person coming in?
Rather than putting an ad in, or something on social media where you'll get a lot of applicants. For example, like a few years ago, I had a security guard who was looking after a block of flats, and he was actually more intelligent than the rich people living in the flats, because he said to me, there's a dog, she comes every day, she's given puppies, all the puppies died last year. Can we get her sterilized? I'll hold her, I'll keep her.
Oh, wow.
And he's named her, and he gives her a little bit of his dal and rice, whatever he makes at night. So I said to him, look, would you like a job? I can offer you a little bit more money.
Yeah.
And he was, yes, for sure.
So he's joined your team?
He's joined for 4 years now, and now he drives, he catches.
Oh, wow.
I think there's a lot of animal loving people that are in the wrong jobs, and we can offer them the right.
By
So this
off-
is how I
This is how
recruit.
you get your
yeah,
how you
yeah,
recruit.
yeah.
But you gauge and you watch
Yes,
them.
and then I have a trial period for
Okay.
2 weeks. I always say to them, that, come and visit. Let me see what you're doing.
Yeah.
I feel as Indians, we do have that ahimsa in our blood. Even sometimes it doesn't look like it. Even the very, very poor people, they have this basic respect for life. Yeah, yeah. And to bring it out is important.
What is the master checklist every founder or shelter manager should have and refer to as a Bible? So, like my learnings is hygiene, good drainage, nutrition, handling, stuff like that.
Yes,
So,
yes.
what are yours?
Yeah, I think you've covered them all. The most important is hygiene.
Yes.
And just setting examples. What we do often, we show videos of how rescue centers in the UK
Are
or
keeping-
Germany are keeping clean, just to give the staff the idea that, hey, look, we have to aim higher, not
Yeah.
chalega, A good set of staff is the
Yes.
number one thing. And of course, you must have a doctor, a vet,
Yeah.
must have overnight cage facilities.
Yes.
Separation areas are very important.
Yes. For
Above
disease
all,
control.
yes, and above all, hygiene.
Yes.
Have to make sure all the equipment is, you have to have an autoclave machine.
Yeah.
So all these things have to.
Nutrition.
Nutrition, yes, yes. And then if you have time, of course, X-ray machine, a blood work machine,
Yeah.
hydrotherapy, pool area.
Yeah.
Oh, it's endless what you can do as an NGO.
I remember it's a very tedious job across welfares to keep cleaning.
Yes.
But at ADMC, I learned from Julie, where she said it's so important for multiple reasons to maintain hygiene. One is for disease control, that you don't want a sick dog going from your shelter into the community and infecting others. The second, a kennel for an animal, if it's kept clean, it's not going to damage it trying to break out because of stress.
Yes.
Because then if it feels calmer and stress free for that reason.
Yes.
So it actually makes your workload as an animal welfare
Yes,
lesser
lesser.
if you keep your certain protocols and standards in place.
Yes, absolutely.
And the animals are also calmer
Yes.
and easier to manage them.
Yes, yes.
I mean, who would like to lie and sleep in their own poo
Yeah,
and pee all the
yeah.
time, or have stale food lying around for hours?
And the good point you're making is that actually in the long run, it makes our life easy.
We were able to run that camp functionally by keeping these standards. No cages were damaged for dogs trying to break out.
Yes.
It was like they'd come on a spa,
Yes.
4-day spa with music playing. And
Yes.
so one thing about the vehicles also, Atul, which we learned at ADMC was when you load in the first dog, he's already in that vehicle till you load in the rest. So we put that agronet on the side so there's shade in the vehicle. We put mats at the base so the car wasn't heating up. We actually timed our teams, saying you have 18 minutes to load or 14 minutes to load X number of dogs in the car. We started putting protocols in place for the animal caregivers coming to the camp,
Yes.
saying this is what you can do, this is how you transport the
Yes.
animal. You can't just bring a puppy in a dustbin. We had people carrying dogs in dustbins, and
Yes,
we're like, no. We worked really well. Like, I think over 500 animals were brought in Margao through the community,
Wow. Amazing.
working with our teams. So it worked out because there was good communication.
Yes.
There were protocols put in place by the WBS team. It was done really well.
No, hats off to you, really.
I don't know why no one's considered this, but that changeover of the bowls. Just have 2 sets of bowls.
Yes.
Have another set ready that you don't have to wait. You please donate extra bowls to welfares, so
Yes.
just so that wash can happen later. You have a second set that's ready to go in. Organized, systematic, move.
Yes.
So it's
Fantastic.
less stress on the animal.
Yes. I think you should actually, write or
Yeah.
have a manual online. No, really, because these are very important
Yeah, and we
things.
even installed fans inside the
Yes,
vehicle so the
yes.
animals are cool.
Yeah.
Any tips on social skills for other welfares to get donors?
I think try and recognize what your donator wants. For example, we have some donators that say, we just want this for this dog, one specific animal. So you have a sponsorship of that animal.
Yeah.
Some say, no problem, here's 20,000.
Do what you want.
Do what you want. Some want for the cows.
Yes.
So, recognize what your
Donor
donator
wants
wants,
to.
donor wants. And of course, have have somebody make videos, thank you videos.
Yes. In Goa, like you mentioned earlier, we have the DSPCA,
Yes.
right? Which stands for?
District Society for Protection of Cruelty Against Animals.
Okay, so they're like basically the animal police.
Yes.
Yeah. How do they interact with welfares and support them or take support?
First of all, all over India, there has to be DSPCAs.
Are there?
Unfortunately, no. Even the Goa one took a long time to get started.
Yeah.
But again, it's could be improved vastly all over India as
Yeah.
well. It's needed. So the idea is, if you see a dog tied up or beaten,
Exactly.
or you would get in touch with the DSPCA, who would then send their inspectors. Yeah. So
And then what do? They take the dog away. They mediate stuff with the people.
yeah, I think first mediate, but sometimes the animal has to be taken away,
And where does it
and
go?
because it has to go to a recognized NGO.
How would you get a community to support you and vice versa?
It's important to understand the community and not criticize. Some people can only do once a week to help, or a lot of time people say to me, I don't really like animals. I say, look, that's more reason you should help us, because we're getting them off the streets.
Yeah.
Less accidents. So you can put it into the human benefit.
Yes.
You know,
it is in the human benefit,
It is,
right?
yeah.
For
Less
coexistence.
accidents.
I mean, I always said sterilization for our community animals is for everyone. If you like dogs, help them. If you don't like dogs, please help them, because then you'll have lesser on the street.
So that's the way is to actually encourage and have school projects. So like we do, we open our doors to
Yes.
school children with the teachers they
Yeah,
have.
yeah.
We at least need 2 teachers.
Yes.
So even some of the 5-star hotels have now started having days out their staff.
oh, lovely.
Sometimes they donate, so they'll up to 20 members of staff.
They come to the sanctuary.
Yes, and they have a blast. Of course, Whitey, the
Yeah.
cockatoo, entertains them. A lot of them have never held a goat, never touched a chicken, or
So it's nice.
even a puppy. Sometimes they're scared of the dogs.
Yeah.
So that's also important, that you can build a community.
Community awareness like that. How do you get so many volunteers? What's your secret, Atul?
I think the secret is to see what they want to do. Like if some volunteers, they're a bit nervous of cows. So then we said, work with the dogs. Some are nervous of, or they don't want to do first aid.
Yeah.
So you get them chopping the food.
Ah.
Some can even do from home, online,
Yeah, like you
spreading, sharing our posts and all that.
Yeah.
But very often it's making them feel part of the family. So even we have a joint breakfast together.
The whole team eats breakfast
So,
together.
so even the volunteers, and so even the British volunteers, but they every morning they'll say to Usha, what are you making today, Usha? So
How nice.
yeah.
Usha cooks for everyone, huh? The animals and the teams.
Yeah, so 150 animals and 15 teams.
Wow. And different varieties of food.
Yes. Then we have Mary
Yes.
from Scotland. She lives in India, lives
Yeah.
in Goa. She was actually head of physio in a university in Scotland
Scotland?
for many years. So she brings her
Skill set.
and
She does physio for your animals at WAG.
Yeah. She takes the dogs to the beach.
Yes, the Sunday
Yeah,
beach
which
day
is
of
so
the dogs.
sweet.
I love that.
It's like the children at an orphanage
They are getting a day
getting
out.
a day out. Yeah, they even get
I
ice
don't know
cream.
if anybody else does that.
I
I mean,
don't
I know
think
they
so.
take their dogs out for a walk, but do they make like a beach trip? That's such a lovely
and
thing
once
to
you
do.
see how they play on the beach, it's a day out how
Yeah.
they play with each other.
How amazing.
So so that we've had those volunteers are very, very much cherished.
Now, you and your team on a day-to-day basis see so much suffering and pain, and how do you guys just keep doing this every day? How do you
Yeah.
manage your your compassion levels are still right up there for me.
Yes,
How do you do it?
It's very, very difficult because, as you say, if the compassion is there, then also you feel very sad, and we see the most terrible things that people should not have to see. We do have, again, Mary, she acts as a counselor.
Yeah, for the teams?
Yes, for the teams. Because a lot of the staff are also very brave, because where they come from, they've seen
All kinds of stuff.
all kinds of stuff, but they need a lot of support. And another thing that I think all NGOs could be helped is to have this sort of facility, to have a
Therapist?
counseling therapist for
Yes.
all the staff.
Yes.
Because a lot of, I think, individuals, but especially for NGOs and rescuers, is the guilt factor. I could have done this. I could have given the IV earlier. Our vehicle
But you're
could have
dealing
made
with
it.
so many emotions, Atul. You're
Yes.
dealing with your own emotions.
Yeah.
You're dealing with animal emotions. You are also dealing with the humans who are bringing in those animals.
Fine balance to have, because
Yeah.
sometimes, of course, if you don't have enough resources, and there is sometimes incompetence, but a lot of the times it's just that you couldn't help that animal in time.
Yeah.
But I even have it from individual pet owners, that, for example, they decided not to give the 9-in-1 virus to the adult dog.
And he got
Then
parvo.
it got parvo, lepto. So, you have to be practical as well.
It's responsible ownership also,
Yes,
no, Atul?
yes.
You have to, as an animal owner, whether it's a cat or a dog, you need to get that basic healthcare
Yes.
in place.
Yes,
Do your research, understand your commitment.
yes.
I mean, I've always said animals are a commitment for 10 to 15 years of your
Yeah.
emotions, your finances, your time, your lifestyle.
Yes, absolutely.
Everything changes.
Yes, yes.
It's not just get a dog or cat, put it there,
No,
and that's it, you're
no.
done.
Yeah. But the rewards, as you know, are
Amazing.
amazing.
Priceless.
Yeah.
How do you keep your staff's morale up? Like, how do you keep them going? Because I remember earlier this year, you took the teams to some wildlife sanctuary, didn't you? Didn't you take Ashwin? And
Yes, we do that. I take them on small holidays. But also important is, because we're on the main road, we get a lot of visitors.
yeah,
So a lot of visitors actually bring gifts
for your teams.
for the team staff. But what we do is every birthday we have a party for each staff. We have a party, and do little things like sometimes I'll make pizzas for everybody.
Oh, how nice.
So it's getting everybody together. Yeah, and even for volunteers, long-term volunteers, it's important to have, if they're leaving, to have a little party for them.
Send off for them,
Yes,
so they
yes.
feel appreciated
Yes,
for the.
yeah.
Now, how do you manage your monthly expenses, Atul?
It's
How is
very
it?
difficult. We budget. So, for example, our expenses are roughly 4 lakhs a month, if you count all the staff and all. So then we know we have to, we budget. We are part of the large stray cattle management scheme. So we get money for the food, but that's often delayed by 2 years sometimes.
What? Oh,
Yes. So the problem with that is it is tied up with panchayats and municipalities. Just seem to cause delays and problems. Budgeting is very, very difficult, because with donations sometimes somebody could give you 10,000 or somebody could give you 100 rupees. But once you get the ball, so now we have a few companies that
give you
give
CSR.
every month,
Oh, wonderful.
But again, that you need to give them receipts, you need to thank people, regular donors, set up a WhatsApp group of donors.
Yeah.
So that way.
Is it easy to get donors? Or is it a lot of hard work for a welfare?
It's a lot of hard work. Yeah. But once you get the ball, have
rolling.
a system in place,
Yeah.
again, thanking is very important.
And staying in touch with you.
Staying in touch and opening, having clarity. Ideally,
Transparency.
open your shelter for people to come and visit. So we do that. We welcome
Yeah,
people.
WAG is always open.
Always open. Also, our books, clarity. Make sure you say to people, look here, you can see. Because fortunately, there's a lot of generous people. But as with rich people all over the world, they want to know where their money is going.
100%.
You
Why
know,
not?
so-
You can't just say it's going.
Exactly. So you can have that. You can show them.
Accountability,
Yes,
as a
accountability.
welfare, to show, be transparent and
Yes,
show
yes.
how their money is being utilized in real time.
Yes. Good way around it is to have specific targets. So a lot of companies, for example, you need a generator,
Yeah.
which is so important, to maintain the cold chain for vaccinations.
Yes.
And while you're operating,
Yeah, the light
power
goes,
cuts
yeah,
all the time. So some companies would say, okay, you get a quote for the generator,
And we'll
4 lakhs, we'll pay direct to that.
to the
So
vendor
there's
straight.
clarity, a
Oh,
lot.
fabulous.
Yeah,
so that's
a
also
lot.
way
A lot of them are doing it. Again, you can say, look, we want to vaccinate 500 beach dogs,
or sterilize.
sterilize, and then you
Get
have
the numbers.
You get the numbers. So have specific targets.
As a donor as well.
Yes.
So I want to talk to you about animal welfare activism. it comes across very radical at times, you know. I mean, and I get it. I mean, these people who are on ground, they're constantly seeing suffering. It's like shouting out for help and no one's listening.
Yes.
But is there a way to do it better to actually get the support? Because I mean, you know, it's taken me a while. I have worked with a lot of welfares, but I said the way you word your posts is so important. You know, instead of trying to, I've noticed this trend. I don't know. It's my personal opinion of you guilting your donors into donating.
Yes.
I believe we need to inspire people to
Yes.
help. Right?
Exactly. Yes, absolutely. And I think it's human nature, you know, even a small child, if you say to them, you know, don't touch that, then they think, well, who are you to tell me? I will touch it. So
Exactly.
in that way, and also to keep it very separate from veganism, vegetarianism,
It's all separate.
which are good causes in their own rights. But when you talk about animal activism, animal welfare activism, then you know have to keep it specific for that. But also now find out where your DSPCAs are. Are they running in
How
your
active
state?
are they?
How active are they?
How-
And help in getting them going.
But
Become an
Atul, I've also
inspector.
personally faced stuff like where I've reached out, said, "Can I help you?" There's a lot of times people don't want that help, right?
Yes.
So when us, then it kind of puts the citizen back, right?
Yes.
I mean, I don't give up. I'll keep going and trying because for
Yeah.
me the focus is the animals, so I will not back down.
Yes.
But a lot of people get tired of being told it can't be done, and they get so fed up.
Yes.
How do we keep their morale up? You know, just keep
Yes,
the eye on the ball, which is the animal.
you know, people have to remember is anyone such as yourself who said, okay, I want to help this certain dog that's being mistreated, or, you know, a slaughterhouse that is not following the guidelines. Those individuals are very brave. You have to first, you know, it's 1 in 1,000 that will come forward.
And stand.
Yes.
And then if they're put down.
Yes. So then you can, people should recognize that it's a very brave thing to take
Yeah.
on any,
Yeah.
you have to be very brave.
Because I do remember when I wanted to get into this, I reached out to one welfare and I was like, I want to help. I want to make an impact. I know I can. And I was told that, no, you can't. You can't make an impact on the
Yeah.
dogs in Goa. And 2.5 years, 3 years later, I genuinely feel I have made an impact.
Definitely.
You know, so like, I mean, that was the first welfare I spoke to. And then luckily I spoke to you.
Yes, yes. But
You
I
know?
don't know whether to use you as a good example because you are exceptional in what you did as an individual. I was just amazed. Yeah, that's the secret is to work together.
Work together.
Yes.
Like together we can do something because
Yes.
the eye has to be the larger vision.
Yes,
If you want support, you have to also open up
yes,
to ideas
yes,
as a
definitely.
welfare.
Yes.
There has to be exceptions somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, every day on that Facebook group, you are seeing cries for help from citizens. I see these online social media handles where genuine citizens who don't know anything about animal welfare want to help, but they are barraged by these 5 or 6 people on those
Yes.
groups saying, do this, do this, do that.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm personally equipped to lift a hurt dog.
Yes.
I don't know if the dog's going to bite me. I don't know if me lifting him might hurt him more as a citizen. So expecting me to bring that dog to you is a big ask
Yes,
at the end of the day, isn't
yeah,
it?
and a lot of the times, you know, people are passing by. So very often I also say to those people, look, we'll go out and catch and would you like to donate towards
the
this
fuel,
care? And
yes.
90% of people are very happy to do that.
So say suppose as a citizen, if I saw an injured animal, I can't be there. I will send you a picture. I will say, sir, I will donate for the care of this animal. Could you please send a team so I can cover the fuel and the medical cost?
Yes.
Would that inspire welfare to help?
Definitely, definitely. And if you can, you know, if you can wait by the animal, that also helps.
Always
But
helps.
it works both ways. You know, the experienced rescuers, NGOs should also be, you know, a bit more
Accountable
sympathetic
and-
to reporters.
Yes.
As you've seen on the Facebook, they put,
It's
oh,
too
well, why
much.
didn't you do something?
My biggest fear of just with observation is the way people come down on these citizens.
Yeah,
The next time they're not going to report it.
yeah,
Right? You've just lost that one warrior you could have had a part of your team
yeah.
just because of the way you've spoken to them
Very, very important. And again, it'd be good to have a training
for that.
for that. Because very often I will say to people, look, I would say to them, look, you know, there's another NGO that just started
Closer.
up. please phone them. And then what I say is, if they cannot help, phone me back.
Yeah,
Because
nobody
otherwise-
says that. Nobody else
Nobody,
says.
otherwise they'll say, हाँ अभी 10 number दिया आपने, this is the 11th number I'm phoning.
Nobody is helping me.
Everybody.
Yeah, because that pass and the parcel happens,
Yes,
right? I've
yes.
noticed that. Call this one, call this one, call this
So
one.
always you say to them, if they don't respond, call me back.
That's
So
lovely.
then they really, they're
you know,
really
they know
happy
that
to
they've
do
got that support.
Yes,
How can we have more effective animal welfare rights and laws in place?
it's enforcing it. Again, find out about your DSPCA, where it is, what the law is.
We need more
Yes.
feet on the ground supporting everyone.
Yes, I think so. Yeah, and we recently had a workshop at WAG, headed by Meet Ashar of
Yeah.
PETA.
Yes.
He's an excellent advocate. He even had a hierarchy of police. If you go to your local police officer and he says he cannot help, then that's the next step you go to. So that's very helpful.
So where can we find this information?
I think Meet in the PETA website
PETA
has it,
website.
or you can individually contact him.
Now let's talk about education and awareness for animal welfare in India. Corporate responsibility. Have you seen a change over the years? Do you have to reach out to corporates? Do corporates reach out to you?
Yes, as you know, there's a CSR, which stands for Corporate Social Responsibility. For every 50 donations made to charity, it's only one for the animals, because usually
They come
on the
the
board
lowest.
although animal welfare has been listed
Yes.
as a donation field, but usually there's somebody on the board of directors who say, "Hey, humans
this."
are more important. Why are we helping animals?" There are some that will help the animals, or some do a little bit for both.
So you can be a company in a different state and donate to WAG or and other welfares
Absolutely.
in India. Yeah.
So once a year they have a group outing. So they visit Goa.
Oh, nice.
They pay for their
Yes. That offsite.
Yes.
Team offsites, yeah.
And it's a fantastic time. So
Yes,
we
actually,
arrange.
that's a good idea, Atul. Maybe if we got in touch with these event companies that run offsites in Goa, what if we asked them to kind of, connect to the heads of those companies saying, could your offsite maybe have an outing at a welfare or a sanctuary like that?
Yes.
I think that'll be
and
a
this
great.
company from Bangalore, they have a blast. We look forward to it.
They come in.
They come for the whole day. So we arrange activities for them.
That's amazing. So even like I remember, a friend of mine from Delhi is one of your donors, and he's started a villa project. And you mentioned
Yes.
that he had reached out to you to help sterilize the dogs on the compound. Don't you feel all these builders in Goa's should be like caring for the animals that were
Yes.
on the land where they have started redeveloping
Yes.
and
Yes,
that they're
yes.
from?
Absolutely. And what happens is, once the development is complete,
where do the dogs go?
where do the dogs go? Then you get the new people finding, sorting society and wanting to kick the dogs out. Legally, you can't do that, but
So
to
then
avoid
technically
that.
it does come under their purview,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
They should care
yes.
for the.
And again, to have the manager or the overseer of the project
Property
also to be interested.
Involved, yes.
So he's also got his.
So we
his
can
manager.
coexist, right?
Yes. Even the security guard. Very often, I say to them, "Isko pakdenge to you'll get 500 rupees."
yeah.
And how fast it works, So
What are your thoughts on the current status in India regarding awareness for animals?
where we have fallen short is definitely a lot of ignorance now has come up.
So we take adult dogs into schools and colleges, and we educate the students and the kids on how to navigate day-to-day life with hands-on work with an adult dog. Like Mastan is trained to work with people who are afraid of dogs. As opposed to taking a puppy there with screaming children and 100 people touching a
Yes,
puppy. I'm not.
absolutely.
It just doesn't feel right.
Yes,
You
100%. 100. So that you can go to schools as well. Obviously, ideally, if they can come to the shelter. But what you're saying is absolutely correct. If you take an adult dog
Take an
experience,
adult trained dog, and that comes
Yes.
with working with trainers and behaviorists.
and what you've done with the dog speed, is it?
Yes.
It's amazing, because the amount of on a smaller level, the amount sometimes all over India, all over the world, the amount of puppies that get returned once they've been adopted, because people haven't followed small simple guidelines. For example, you've already got your 2 adult dogs, you brought a new puppy in,
Yeah.
or while they're eating, put the
Put the
puppy
puppy
there.
there.
Then
The conflict.
the conflict, then they bring the puppy back, or even worse, they dump it in the jungle or
Yeah.
something. So these things are very important, and also to educate people about diseases apart from rabies. There's
Yeah, the
very
9-in-1.
few.
I mean,
Yes, no, but people think they're gonna get it.
Yeah.
It was
about the
crazy.
zoonotic diseases.
Yes, it's just awareness.
So there needs to be more education and awareness
Definitely.
programs happening, and this needs to probably be another team rather than you all, because you're already doing so much on a
Yes.
day. So this could be another vertical of animal welfare. You
Yes.
feel where
Yes, there
education.
should be a department for
A
all
department
this.
is running
Yeah.
this, right?
Yes.
When you guys are designing your education programs, are you talking to a child psychologist to figure out which age group can
Yes.
absorb?
Yes.
Or is it the same education program that's running for all age groups? Then how do you know what is being
Or
absorbed?
you might end up traumatizing the 6-year-olds.
I mean, it needs to be designed per age group,
Yeah,
right? And
and-
what people can
Yes,
absorb
and
or
it's
not.
difficult. It's an excellent point.
So
If I give
therapists
a
and child
talk-
psychologists, you can do some social welfare by working with education officers for animal welfare.
I mean, sometimes if I go to a school to give a talk and the children are, say, 13 years
Yeah.
of age, then, we start off having, we play a guessing game. So we have a photo of a female stray dog.
Yeah.
So then we say we have a wag cap, or
Yeah.
T-shirt. So we say now, if you count her puppies and their puppies, in 7 years, who can guess how many puppies this will produce?
67,000, isn't it?
Exactly. So nearest to that, they get a prize. Whoever
wow.
can guess, and it's so much fun.
So a dog and its mate and the first litter, if none are sterilized in 7 years, that leads up to 67,000 approximate animals. Is a statistic that I read somewhere.
Yeah, which is if you count the mate as well.
Yes.
Yes. So
It's horrible.
So
We
again,
can stop it. We can stop it with one
yes,
surgery.
Of course.
Yeah.
We can send rockets to Mars.
Yeah.
Even they miss sometimes, but then we can do these things.
Yeah, for sure. What's your secret, Atul? How do you pull all this off?
I think you just have to be dedicated, and certainly delegate. But
Yes.
I think the most important thing is you just have to be there.
And have your teams trained up also.
You have
built
to
them
pay
up.
them well, treat them well. Yeah, mine I think is too much the other way. They phone me, Tata khatam ho gaya, recharge kar do please. I'm like, really? But
Keep your teams well.
Yes, you must do that.
I don't think the awareness and education for animal welfare is very clear. And you just think that, okay, these people are getting paid X amount of money to handle this, and they're just not doing a good job.
Yeah.
That is why our country is in the situation it's in.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a lot to do with education. In theory, it would be nice to have, a setup where the NGOs would look after the street animals. But as for older people, for children in India, for animals, these are inadequate. So we have to face the reality and all work
And we
together.
have more street animals than anywhere else in the world,
Yes,
don't we?
yes. And the
I mean,
highest
it's-
case of rabies, highest street cattle, stray cattle.
Yeah.
So we all have to work together.
Yeah, as a community.
Yes, and it's a very old-fashioned approach of when people say to me, "Arey, NGOs are rolling in it and they're making."
Yeah.
So I think for every one NGO that is making money
Yeah.
or maybe misusing it, there's 100 genuine ones
That are not getting that
are
support.
struggling.
Because
yeah.
that is also the tricky part in India, right? You don't know whether the money is reaching the animals, how to
Yes.
identify the right NGO. Some people might just be really good with their social media, say the right things,
Yes.
but are they actually doing that work?
Yeah.
These are questions that go in
Yes.
citizens' heads.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was raising funds for All Dogs Matter Camp, I feel one major factor for getting that funding was me.
Yes.
And people knowing me and knowing my work ethics and knowing I'm doing this as a citizen to support a welfare, to help our community animals. And that made a huge difference.
Yes. I mean, a good reputation helps, like you have, and hopefully I
Yes.
have. But I think before that is to have clarity. So, for example, if you wanted to help a struggling NGO in Rajasthan,
Yes.
then nowadays it doesn't take much to go and pay a visit.
Yeah, like
That's
get
how
up
I
and
think-
go see, right?
Yes, go and see what's happening.
Yeah.
That's why, and also I tell a lot of people I know that have the money, but they don't have the time or they
go.
don't want to get involved hands-on. become a trustee. Then
Yes.
you can go and check, look, hey, we donated this fridge, where is it?
Yes.
Where is
Where
this
did it go?
ambulance?
Yeah.
Is it
I
being
mean, do you
used?
remember 2 years ago we were chatting and you told me some 100 camels had disappeared from a sanctuary in Rajasthan?
Yes, yes. I
Like
think
how?
you told
Oh,
me.
I told you. I
Yes.
don't know. I read something.
Yes.
I was like, how do 100 camels disappear?
Yeah.
And it was so sad
It's
that
very
there's no
sad.
accountability.
No, even some of the big goshalas you go to, they mean well, but I went to one recently in Rajasthan. It's terrible. About 50 cows dying on a small cemented area, 500 cows together in a small space. So you've got to actually visit if you can,
Yeah,
and then it's not difficult now.
you can make a
yes,
difference.
yes.
Atul, if you had one dream wish, unlimited amount of funds, nothing holding you back, what is that one change you'd make in animal welfare in India?
Have a situation where there are no homeless animals.
Sanctuaries?
Sanctuaries, old dogs homes. Why not? Puppy rescue centers, and above all, sterilization. But it is possible.
If you could leave 3 tips with our audience today on what they can do for animal welfare today, activate it today, what would those 3 tips for them be?
The first I would say is get more involved. We have a special word for it called seva. So, do use it.
Yeah.
And secondly, help with sterilizations of the dogs that you feed.
your
If you know of a dog, don't leave it for the NGO. Try and help them. Try and keep the dog ready. Even better, try and do the aftercare. It's 3 days. Thirdly, just try and spread the word about animal love. If somebody is not particularly fond of mistreating an animal,
Try and educate them.
try and educate them, because I always say, genius is over the centuries. It can't be a coincidence. These amazing people like Michelangelo, Martin Luther King, Mahatma Gandhi, modern day, all these amazing Novak Djokovic, the sports people, Virat Kohli, they're all animal lovers. And not only have they spoken for us to be nice to animals, they said we have to recognize that animals have a right. Until the day where we're not kind to animals, we will never be kind to each other.
I
And
also
that's
believe that.
Such a good point.
By being kind to our animals can actually raise their status and treat them better. So we
Yes.
kind of start treating ourselves better through
Exactly.
it.
Yeah.
Now we've spent some time with Atul and discussed. Our WAG is actually planning to open another section and vertical, actually 2 verticals within WAG, one for caring for puppies and kittens and one for caring for senior dogs, special need dogs, a senior dog home. So if Atul and his work resonates with you, please do find them on social media. They're called Welfare for Animals in Goa. That's Atul Serene. Reach out to him, donate towards animal welfare and people like him who are there on the ground helping the animals. Atul, do you have anything to say?
Yes, thank you. So we've had this amazing opportunity so we want to open an old dogs home and a puppy center as well. So,
Wonderful.
And I say to people, look, we have to remember we will also all be old one day. So we hope somebody can help us in this
And
way.
help you help them.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Great. Thank you, Atul. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank
It was
you.
really great having you on 4 legs and 2 mics.
Pleasure to also, I want to mention, how you've inspired me. Seeing one person can do all this, what you've done. with Give
Atul, you've
to our dog.
inspired me.
So it's mutual.
Yeah, wonderful. Please like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. If you have any questions, leave it in the comments, any thoughts, any topics you'd like us to discuss. We're going to keep bringing more episodes to you. I believe as a community, we can solve our human-dog conflict and our animal population if we work together. So see you on the next episode. Thanks.